Welcome to today's webinar, From AI to Amplify, How to Stay Visible, Relevant, and Everywhere in the New Era of PR. A couple quick housekeeping notes. We've kept this to 30 minutes to respect your time. So we're going to share high-level concepts, best practices, and tips that you can use right away. If you have any questions, please find the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. It looks like a chat icon. We will consolidate all questions and provide answers and follow up in a recap shortly after the session. We will also be sharing the recording and we'll share that afterward. And now a couple quick introductions. My name is Carrie. I've been a marketing professional for over 20 years. I run an agency supporting PR and communications for life sciences, and I've long relied on Big4Bio and PR Newswire as trusted partners to maximize the impact of my clients' news. Joining me today is Arian from PR Newswire, the go-to platform for press distribution. Arian is an operations analyst and partner success manager, and she's on the front lines to see what's working, what's new, and help you optimize your results. So with that, we're going to turn our cameras off and so you can have full screen viewing, and I'm going to hand it over to Arian to get started.
Perfect. Thank you, Carrie, and thank you for everyone joining us today or on demand. I'm super excited to be here with all of you talking about some of my favorite topics. So just as a reminder, today we will cover how AI is reshaping communications from search results and user behavior to tools and strategies, proven practices to create press releases and other content that are helpful to your audience, whether that's humans or robots, and tips on how to strategically amplify your brand's authority through multi-channel promotion. And of course, as Carrie mentioned, we'll be creating some follow-up resources with answers for you, so stay tuned for that. One topic that we've been getting a lot of questions about, I would say particularly over the last few months, is AI and how it's affecting brand visibility. So what is going on with search right now? With the rise of AI-generated summaries in search engine results and people using tools like ChatGPT and Perplexity in place of Google, we're seeing that site visits are dropping significantly. And you've probably experienced this yourself where you Google something, you get a quick answer at the top, and then you don't necessarily click through the citations or scroll down for other search results unless it's something you're very interested in and you actually want to find the source of the information. So we're finding that while traffic to sites is dropping, roughly 60% of Google searches are now resulting in 0 clicks. The traffic that does come through is higher quality, more engaged, and more likely to convert. So the idea here is that you want these AI tools to be able to find and reference your content. How do you get in front of those tools? Utilizing press releases is just one component to a strategy of having your information available online, and of course helps encourage earned media coverage, which is another authoritative source that AI loves to cite. And I'll actually go into more detail shortly about that. But first, I did want to spend some time really on the unique intersection of life sciences and AI. The stakes feel, a little higher here due to the nature of work in this industry, high ethical standards, regulatory scrutiny, and the need for transparency. And then when you put that next to the obvious problems with AI, whether that's bias, hallucinating information, or environmental impact, and then consider the climate we're in of misinformation, disinformation, and eroded trust, it's a precarious but important time for science. So as a comms professional in this space, you're ultimately, dealing with several layers of AI at the same time. Your organization may be using it in its core work, whether that's in R&D, designing clinical trials, or supporting patients directly in some capacity. Then you may be using it in your day-to-day functions to help with things like, productivity or content creation to ultimately communicate with stakeholders who are also using AI to some degree. For example, we know journalists are using some of these tools to help research certain topics or assist with things like summarizing text and transcribing interviews. So you're in a position where the communications you're putting out are absolutely critical to a wide audience, and AI is just one of the many things you're contending with from several angles. With all that in mind, this evolution is actually opening up new opportunities and underscoring many longstanding best practices around content and strategy. In this era, the last thing you want to do is go quiet. You want to proactively invest in scientific storytelling that is simple, clear, accurate, and available. We're going to get into a few acronym tongue twisters here, so please bear with me. The first is generative engine optimization, or GEO, and answer engine optimization, or AEO, which give us a new perspective on what kind of content is valuable. GEO is more focused on AI generated summaries and citations, while AEO is more focused on direct answers and search results, but they both ultimately are about generative search optimization. So instead of thinking in terms of keywords, think about what kinds of questions people would ask in search. What kind of questions can you anticipate and solve for in the content that you're publishing? How can it be the most helpful to your audience? The other thing to think about is, where is your company's expertise? What are you a thought leader on? Are there individual SMEs at your organization that are thought leaders in the space? Topical authority, or being seen as a go-to source on a specific subject, is truly key to brand visibility. So you'll want to lean into the knowledge and unique perspective that your organization has. Now, one piece of this is data credibility. If your organization conducts studies or other types of original research and publishes those findings, I really cannot emphasize this enough. That kind of content is absolute gold for people and technology. We know that journalists love to cover stories with numbers, and AI loves to cite data. So both help to rank your content more effectively. Now, if you're sitting on this kind of information or other news, you don't want to just rely on one channel to promote your message. Carrie is actually going to talk about this in more detail later on, but strategically sending your message in various ways through multiple channels is how you meet your audience where they are and ultimately amplify your news as much as possible. The more that your brand is proactively out there, the more you'll have a reputation for being transparent, credible, ethical, and accessible. And if you're a smaller brand, this evolution in visibility may actually help give you a better shot at being seen. This shift in opportunities, tactics, and the media landscape also means that you may need to revisit what success looks like, on a channel level or a campaign level. Instead of looking at traditional metrics, you might be looking more at how often your brand appears in AI generated answers, how often it is cited, and maybe what kind of sentiment or tone is associated with your brand. Now, I do love some good actionable tips and wanted to give you some more tactical guidelines for your next press release that are based on our own data, research, and client experiences. And I will say, these are specifically kind of designed for press releases, but they're applicable to other types of content as well, like blog posts. So the first one is around headlines, arguably the most important part of a press release. Your headline should immediately address what your news is and why it's important, and you'll want to convey that key message within the first 70 to 100 characters or so. AI generated summaries often look to headlines, and it's also the first thing people see. So you've really got mere seconds to convince them it's worth their time to read further. Now, in the life sciences industry, you're also dealing with a lot of complexity, scientific terms, and other industry jargon. Some of that is going to be unavoidable depending on the specific work that your organization is doing. I totally get that. However, wherever possible, avoid those technical terms and use natural language so that both humans and machines can better understand your message. Another thing that can help your audience connect with your content is a visual element or multiple visual assets, which would be things like images and videos. For some examples, infographics or info bites, product images, lifestyle shots, or explainer videos. Those are all engaging visuals that can help your content resonate and get people to take action with your content. We've actually found that adding an image or video can actually double or triple your engagement. And then if you do multiple assets, that can increase your engagement by 6 times. So to make sure that you capitalize on that engagement, be sure to include a clear call to action link in your release, whether that's to something like a newsletter sign up, a purchase page, maybe downloading a white paper, filling out a form. Give your audience clear instructions on what their next step should be. You can make that call to action easy to find within the release if you format it in a way that's readable and actionable, which can honestly be as simple as just incorporating some bold section headers, bulleted lists, and quotes. Make it easy for people and machines to skim. Now, one thing I do want to note here is that all of these guidelines have been things that we've been recommending for years because they are core to good content. So even as search evolves and the media landscape changes, the core tenets of helpful information haven't gone anywhere. If anything, we're just leaning into them even more and kind of seeing our thesis of quality content published in a lot of places proved out over and over again. So here are a couple, in the wild examples of how search summaries and tools like ChatGPT reference and cite press releases in their answers. Now, I know the print is small. I don't expect you to read this, but the first example on the left represents a scenario where a consumer asks if a product or company is legitimate. In the answer, ChatGPT starts off with a summary of what the brand claims with a product overview and references several of their PR Newswire releases as a signal of legitimacy before going into other topics about efficacy and user experience that cite sources more like Reddit. I do want to mention, PR Newswire is a membership-based company, and we do take vetting our customers and content seriously, which is one of the reasons why we're so trusted by the media community. The second example on the right illustrates a scenario where someone is asking what the partnership is between two organizations, which is a super common question that could come from, stakeholders, industry professionals, or academics for research. In the Google AI overview summary, the PR Newswire release issued by one of the partners comes up as a direct source. So in both of these cases, it shows that comprehensive answers to the questions that we're asking often come from multiple places. But one thing that's almost always included is what the brand is saying about themselves, underscoring how important it is to publish content so that your brand's voice is part of that conversation. So we've talked about how important it is to have good quality content, and there are also ways to optimize that content for maximum impact. PR Newswire actually has some tools to help you do just that with AI-powered press release writing and editing tools. I have to say, they are pretty cool and intuitive. You can either start with your own draft and use our tools to get a press release score with tips for improvement, or you can start from scratch by just providing some key details and desired tone that then gets turned into a full press release that then you can further refine. Our press release score and models do draw on our proprietary performance and release data, which makes our tools specifically tailored to the PR industry, which is pretty cool. I also want to note, since this often is a question that we get, your content is not used to train third-party AI models, and it is protected by Google Gemini enterprise level security. We also have some very exciting things coming later this month that I wish I could talk about, but I share this teaser here to just underscore how focused we are on helping our customers be successful with every tool that we can think of. So now that we've covered how AI is reshaping communications and best practices for content creation, I'm going to turn things back over to Carrie to go into more detail about one of the most important pieces of this puzzle, multi-channel amplification.
Thank you much, Arian. So let's get started. Using multiple channels today is not optional, but it's essential. And we are aware that multi-channel communication has always been a best practice. But with the rise of AI, there are some new dynamics that we all need to keep in mind. So first, traditional discovery pathways are flatter than ever. This goes back to what Arian was talking about with the 60% drop in clicks from Google search results. So people tend to be increasingly satisfied with the AI summaries they're served. So what does this mean for you? It means that your content needs to show up more often across more places and in more formats so that algorithms can recognize content as authoritative. A multi-channel mix makes sure that your news can be discovered where both your audience and AI systems are pulling information from. So let's walk most important channels for life sciences. First, we'll talk about media and press releases. So distribution really remains the anchor of your news. Think of this as the push that syndicates your content to dozens of providers. It is critical for visibility and credibility. Next, we'll go into social media. So LinkedIn is probably the most important platform for B2B and where life sciences professionals are networking and finding their news. People are also using X and other platforms as well, but social media is really perfect for sharing short snippets, testimonials, infographics, hit videos. These posts amplify the press release and keep your story circulating. Next, we're going to go into video. Video is rapidly becoming a must-have in your strategy, particularly YouTube. In fact, the number of YouTube citations in overviews jumped 25% in early 2025, showing Google's AI is pulling heavily from video content. Many life science companies are taking advantage of that by creating mechanism of action videos, which are short, clear explanations of what problem their therapeutic solves and how exactly it works. A tip with video is to keep them concise and to the point, use captions and transcripts so that they can be discovered. Next, we'll talk about thought leadership. So this is really where the credibility comes in. White papers, educational guides, hosting webinars, providing FAQs, all these long form pieces of content help position your company as an authoritative voice. A key detail here, make sure you cite your sources, especially when referencing research or data. This not only boosts trust with your audience, but also improves how AI systems evaluate your authority. Next, we're going to talk about paid opportunities. So these are options like banner ads, newsletter features, sponsored posts and trade publications, potentially access to third-party email lists. All of these opportunities can really extend your reach, but they do cost money. Conferences fit in here as well. These are great for visibility and thought leadership. For example, if you can get an executive on a panel, your expertise will be indexed, quoted, and shared by AI systems, giving you more credibility and extending your reach. So how do we pull this all together? The goal here is to layer all of these into your content strategy. You're going to start with your anchor text, which is likely a press release or a white paper, and then you need to break it down. You're going to share this on social media or potentially email if you have some lists, and short snippets, testimonials, really digestible information. You need to make sure that you're optimizing all of your content for AI discovery. Be sure to add transcripts, summaries, use backlinks, and always quote your sources. And last but not least is the amplified distribution. This is potentially the most important part. The goal here is to surround your audience and the algorithms with multiple touch points that point back to your original message. Now, this last part is actually where many companies fall short. They produce really great content, but is it worth the investment if the content is not being seen? This can be especially tough for startups who have amazing news but no audience yet. And Arian, I'm not sure if you can go to the next slide. Mine might be lagging, but so yes, this can be tough for startups because they may not have an audience yet or email list to reach out to. And of course, budget can be prohibitive from companies casting a wider net by tapping into media partners to help extend their reach. So here's how we can help. Big4Bio has more than 24,000 subscribers across top 8 biotech hubs here in the US. You can extend your reach through their email, through newsletters, exposure on their site, as well as industry sites, various social channels. All of these things can help your story cut through the noise. So let's take a quick look at some of the examples here. So on the Big4Bio website, this is for us to help you extend your reach and share your news. We highlight press releases on the homepage of various markets. We can pull through spotlights where your news is featured as a call out. We can do dedicated articles. We can highlight your event, also post any events on a bio calendar available on the website. Next slide. Big4Bio also has a number of newsletters where you can host banner ads, where we can pull your press releases to the top, making your news extremely visible and more likely for people to click through. Again, we can highlight events here, we can feature your logos and do a number of things so that you can reach our audience through our newsletters. There also is a capability of doing a dedicated email as well. Through social media, you can reach our audience through various channels. There is an active YouTube channel, great to share your video content. LinkedIn is a wonderful place for us to share your posts or even do a dedicated LinkedIn article. We can pull announcements through on X and also do some expanded reach through the Big4Bio podcast, where we can interview one of your executives and really help solidify that thought leadership role and create that authoritative voice that AI loves. The next slide is just a couple quick examples of how this has actually been realized for many of the companies that we're working with, but we don't need to spend too much time on this. So let's wrap it all up here. Basically, what this comes down to is that AI hasn't eliminated the need for PR. It's actually elevated the need for multi-channel, layered, and amplified strategies. So to close, I'm going to give you a quick preview of a new Amplify membership program, which is brought to you by Big4Bio and PR Newswire. This program is designed to help life science companies extend reach, get expert support, and deep discounts on your distribution so your content goes further with a more affordable budget. So real quick, here is how Amplify works. It is an annual membership program brought to you by Big4Bio and PR Newswire. It really brings the power of press release distribution together with a multi-channel amplification strategy. For one annual fee, you can amplify your news across the Big4Bio channels, including the things we just went through: website, regional market newsletters, email lists, social media, podcasts, featured articles. Through your membership, you will also get access to the PR Newswire press distribution platform and all the useful tools and resources that Arian was discussing earlier. You can take advantage of the content optimization, the AI insights and scoring, and tap into a number of resources that are only available to members, such as best practices, ebooks, webinars, and one-on-one guidance from a strategic account executive who will be assigned to your account. And last but not least, as an Amplify member, you will get huge savings. Depending on your package, you can get more than 25% savings on your press release distribution, plus savings on sponsorship packages through Big4Bio should you decide to upgrade. Once you sign up, you'll be assigned to a specialist who will work with you to create the best package. Each package is customized to help you achieve your goals. So if you would like to learn more about Amplify or have any questions about what we covered today, you can go to the last slide there, Arian. Here is an email that you can send and we will get back to you. And there's also a webpage that you can refer to find out more information of the program. We also have a downloadable PDF that reviews everything and the costs and the benefits that are associated. In short, what we're here to do today is help you extend your reach, get more authority in your content, and really reduce your costs so that you get better ROI on your PR and communications. And that's what Amplify is all about. So thank you for joining us today, and we hope to talk to you soon.